Hey everybody, welcome back. I wanted to do a little more of a brief video tonight. I haven't done a movie review for a while. I'm a big movie buff. I love doing movie reviews, so I just wanted to do, I'm going to go more because each individual, I'm not going to talk about Police Academy 7. I actually didn't even know there was a Police Academy 7, which is called Mission to Moscow, and it was made in 1994. I never heard about it, and it didn't have hardly any of the regular, main characters in the first six. So, and from what I heard, it really sucked a lot of more ass than a toilet seat. So, as far as the Police Academy movies, I'm just going to talk about 1 through 6 because I don't think anybody cares about 7. I have no desire to ever see it. So many people said they saw it and they regretted wasting their time, so I'm not going to waste my time on it. Now, the original Police Academy was made in 1984, and it was the same year as Beverly Hills Cop and Ghostbusters. And I think those were the first 3 movies I ever saw. I know my dad got me hooked on cops and robbers movies, and the Police Academy movies were huge back in the 80s. I think as the series went on, each one got less funnier and less funnier, kind of ran out of ideas. But I do think the first 3 were the best. I think the last 3, they had some funny parts, but the last 3 was kind of you could tell they were starting to run out of ideas. It wasn't as funny. And then the Mahoney, Steve Guttenberg, who played Mahoney, he was the star of the series. He was in the first 3, but I guess he wanted to do 3 Men and a Baby, and he also did Cocoon, The Return, or something like that in '88. And I think 3 Men and a Baby was made in '87, so I guess that interfered with the production of Police Academy 5, so they decided to drop him from the series, and they replaced him with Matt McCoy, who wasn't as good. He was in the last 2, 5 and 6. But yeah, that was one of the first movies I saw, and yeah, I love 1, 2, and 3. I think 1 and 2 are my favorites, and then 3 was probably my third favorite, and I say 5 was my fourth, number 6 was my fifth, and number 4 was really not my, that was probably my least favorite out of the 6. Even G.W. Bailey, who played Lieutenant Harris, he said that he didn't really remember what it was about. I guess for whatever reason, he was drunk. He admitted he was drunk, intoxicated through the whole filming of that movie. So he said he doesn't really remember much of it. So I guess that speaks volumes. And Bobcat Goldthwait. I think there were a lot of stars. I think the Police Academy movies is what made Steve Guttenberg a star. Bobcat Goldthwait, he was in 2, 3, and 4, and I guess he wasn't as funny in 4. He was real funny in 2 and 3, and they I guess were having trouble coming to agreements. He was having trouble coming to agreements with the producers, so he ended up getting dropped from the series. So he wasn't in 5 and 6. There was, the original, Kim Cattrall was actually in the original, and I think she was in 27 or 28 at the time. That she ended up being Steve Mahoney's girlfriend, Steve Guttenberg's girlfriend, and I don't know why, but I don't think she was a star yet. I think, Sex and the City. When you think of Kim Cattrall, I think Sex and the City is the first thing that comes to mind. But she was in Porky's, which was the original Porky's, which was made a few years earlier, and that movie went over pretty big, but I don't think that movie made her a star, and I'm not really sure, because she did have a limited role in the original Police Academy. I'm not really sure if that movie made her a star. So then, yeah, I think Bobcat Goldthwait got his break in Police Academy. He was really funny in 2, 3, and 4. He was like a gang leader, and then all of a sudden in number 3, he joins the police force. It was funny because there was that guy, Sweet Chuck, that he was always picking on. He goes to be a police officer too, and they end up becoming roommates, and they're fighting in the room. Bobcat Goldthwait's grabbing Sweet Chuck, and his name's Tim Kaczynski in real life, I think. I think he got his break in Police Academy too, but Bobcat Goldthwait's pushing him up against the blinds, and that Sergeant Callahan is oh, do we have a problem here? And Sweet Chuck's oh, he's the problem, he's an animal. And she's oh yeah, get used to him, he's your roommate. And Bobcat Goldthwait hugs Sweet Chuck, and she's yeah, he's reformed, he's on our side now. And Bobcat Goldthwait's oh yeah, I used to be a real jerk, but now I'm a people guy. That's a pretty funny part. And then as I was talking about, before I kind of got off track here, but I was talking about 4, it's amazing. David Spade, that was, I don't think that movie made him a star, but that was his first appearance ever. And I don't know if he had appearance, he might have had stand-up comedy appearances on TV, maybe Saturday Night Live, I don't know, but Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol, that was his first movie. He was like a teen, I think he was like 28 at the time, but he played like a teenage skateboarder punk, which is pretty funny, but yeah, you think 4 would have been better, David Spade, but yeah, it was my least favorite out of the 6, but it still had some funny parts. I don't want to knock it completely. It was all right. I'll say that much. And then also Sharon Stone, before she was a star, I think what really made her a star was Total Recall, which was made in 1990, a few years after, because it was made in 87, Police Academy 4. Then from like 84 to 89, that's when the first 6 were. So she was in Total Recall and then Basic Instinct, which I think, you think Sharon Stone, that's what I think of, Basic Instinct. And then she was already a star, but then she went on to do Casino with Robert De Niro, which was huge. But yeah, she ended up being Mahoney's girlfriend in that movie. I guess there was a scene at the end where they were in like a hot air balloon, and I guess when they were actually doing the scene, they didn't show it in the movie, but I guess doing the scene, the hot air balloon was pretty bumpy, kind of like out of control, and they constantly landed. They were like landing on top of each other. It was pretty funny, and she said that I think around that time she was going through a divorce. Her first marriage had failed, so she was really down, really depressed, and she just basically took that role she thought it'd be good therapy for her. She'd go, I'll be around a bunch of comedians. What could go wrong? How can you go wrong there? They might cheer me up. So yeah, she was in 4. And let's see. There was also a guy, Bruce Mahler. He's mostly, he was in, I think he was definitely in the first 3. I know he was in 6. I'm not sure if he was in 4 and 5. But anyway, his name was Bruce Fackler. That was his character name in the Police Academy movies. But in real life, his name was Bruce Mahler, and he played that short rabbi in Seinfeld, and that's what really made him a star. That's what he was really known for. I think the Police Academy movies got his foot in the door. But Seinfeld's been off the air since 1998, and I think he's doing production now, or directing. But yeah, he's not. I guess after Seinfeld went off the air, he decided to retire. As far as the characters, so we all know about Kim Cattrall. We all know about Sharon Stone and David Spade, where they're at now. So yeah, we know about Bruce. We know about Bruce Mahler. I just talked about him. G.W. Bailey, who played Lieutenant Harris, which is so funny. Yeah, he's still doing roles. I haven't seen him in anything for years, but he's on some show, I guess, that's currently on, where he usually plays cops. But yeah, he's on the show that's currently on right now. Never heard of it, never watched it, but he's actually a lieutenant on the show called Major Crimes. And the other Lieutenant Mauser, Art Matrano, that's his name in real life. He was a big comedian. I had never heard about it. I don't think he's really that famous, but some people know who he is. Some people never heard of him, but I didn't know about it. But he's actually got paralyzed. He's able to walk with crutches, but only for very short distances, for a very short time. So even back then, like, he generally just uses a wheelchair, but he's still able to walk with the aid of crutches. But yeah, Mauser was doing some work on his house, on the roof, and I guess like Christopher Reeve, he fell off a ladder and landed like flat on his head, and he's technically, even though he's still able to walk, he's technically considered a quadriplegic. He broke his neck in like 4 places. So that's the story with him. So he's not, I think he might still be doing, well, obviously, since he's in a wheelchair, it's to call it stand-up. He still does comedy, but he sits in his wheelchair when he does it. I think he's in his 80s, so he's getting to be pretty ancient anyways. David Graff, who played the character of Tackleberry, he died, he was only 50 years old, but he died back in 2001. He had a cardiac arrest at a family wedding. He was pretty funny in those movies. I think he was in every one. He was pretty popular. That series pretty much made him a star. Eric Lassard just died a few years ago. He was pretty old. He was like, I think, close to 100 years old, or maybe a couple years over 100, but George Gaines. And Hightower died, he was a professional football player, huge guy, but that big guy who played Hightower, Bubba Smith, He died, I think, at least 5 years ago. He was a pretty big guy. I guess he had a congestive heart failure, but I never would have figured he would have been a type to use drugs. But I guess they also found like a number of different, not like recreational drugs, but I think like a number of different prescription enlarged heart, and then they found like a number of prescription drugs, painkillers in his system all at one time. He wasn't that old. I think he was still pretty young, maybe only in his late 50s, early 60s. And Bobcat Goldthwait, I haven't seen him for years, but from what I found out about him is, yeah, I'm sure he's still doing stand-up. He's still getting roles, and he's got a, interesting, unique voice, and he's still doing voiceover work. Same thing with Sweet Chuck. They were both, or I don't know about Bobcat Goldthwait, but Sweet Chuck was also before Police Academy. He was big on Saturday Night Live, and from what I found out about him, he's still getting roles, kind of stand-up comedy and directing. He's also been on TV shows, making special appearances. And lastly, Mahoney, Steve Guttenberg. I haven't seen him for years, but he is still, it's weird, like I still see him getting credited for like special appearances on shows, but it's like you never heard of them. And he's still making appearances, getting movie roles, but it's like you never heard of these movies. I'm not a fan of Dancing with the Stars. I don't like dancing, but from what I found out, he was, and that show is still on the air. Pretty popular. I hate dancing. I don't get excited watching it. I don't like to dance myself. He was on, I forget who it was that he danced with, but he was on Dancing with the Stars in 2008, that season. And then there was a movie, I gotta watch it again. I haven't seen it since the early 90s, but there was this movie made back in 77 called Roller Coaster, where this guy, he's like a terrorist, and he's putting explosives, bombs on these roller coasters and blowing them up, killing the roller coaster riders, passengers. So, yeah, I definitely want to see that again. So, yeah, that sums up the Police Academy movies in a nutshell. There's so many funny parts in most of them, especially 1, 2, and 3, and 5 and 6, 4, few funny parts. But yeah, I'll definitely, my video would be probably about an hour long, maybe more, probably like an hour and a half. If I talked about each one in this video. So I'm gonna do is, I might break it up, the first 3, last 3, just talk about the funny parts real soon. Okay, so yeah, let me know your thoughts. What are your favorite Police Academy movies? What are your least favorites? What do you think about some of the people getting their breaks? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me that certain people got their breaks or maybe didn't get their breaks in Hollywood with the Police Academy series? Let me know. I'd be interested, very intrigued to have a conversation about it. Maybe do a follow-up video on it. So, with that being said, comment, like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you all real soon with another great video. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great Saturday. Take care. Bye.